What is this ancient piece of technology? Well, this right here is history. Hello guys, how are you? David Franco here from davidfranco.com as I try to get this back in the dock. Remember back in the day when Apple actually included docks with their products? I miss those days. Anyway guys, yesterday's video was all about my early history with Apple. That video lasted about 25 minutes. Yes, 25 minutes of just myself rambling about why I'm obsessed with Apple and what got me into Apple. Even before the days of being a Mac user, I was kind of a fan of Apple products without even realizing it. Alright, so for today's video, I figured why not continue this Apple theme this week. And yes, this is no coincidence. I'm doing all of this on purpose because I'm leading up to the Apple Watch Series 3 unboxing and Apple TV 4K unboxing this Friday. So stay tuned and subscribed if you're not already subbed. I appreciate it. Alright, so I have a list right here so I don't miss any. Let's start out with my first iPod ever, the iPod 3rd generation. Okay, so this is back when it had touch-sensitive buttons alongside the top. We had previous, menu, play and pause, and next. And this right here was the scroll wheel. Didn't click, it just sensed taps, which was really cool for its time. And up top here we have a hold switch. So basically that means if you were listening to your music and this is on hold, showing the orange color, tapping this or whatever would not disrupt your music playback. And let's face it, with controls that are completely driven by a simple tap, it was bound to happen by mistake. So this was really smart of Apple to implement the hold feature, a headphones jack, as well as that. Can somebody answer me this? What is that? I mean, I claim to be an Apple fan, which I am, and I know a lot about Apple, but I forget what that is. If you guys can let me know in the comments, I appreciate it. I could just Google it, but hey, come on, it's a nice way to get you to participate. So comment right below. And on the back here, very reflective back. Look at that, oh my God. Classic though, classic. 30 gigabyte hard drive, and of course on the very bottom here, the classic 30-pin connector. We've come a long way. Look how thick this is. You know what? Let's get my iPhone, which is right here, and compare the thickness. Look at that. Look at that. What a massive, massive difference. We have come a long way. I love it. So iPod 3rd generation, my first iPod ever. This was back before I was even a Mac user. But even back then, I was just amazed by the build quality and the little backlight that shows up behind these buttons right here. It was just incredible. It was intuitive. And it just worked. And honestly, this blew away any MP3 player I used back then. It was just so much better. Oh, and of course we have the dock here, 30-pin connector, and line out. So in theory, if you wanted to plug this into the dock, boom, line out the speakers, you could. You could still do that today with docks, just the docks are no longer included with the iPod. So it is what it is. All right, next up, my favorite iPod of all time, the iPod 5th generation. This one has an IR receiver on the front because you could use the Apple remote, you know, that little plastic cheap one we used to get. Nowadays we have the Siri remote, which in my opinion is a lot better. It's not perfect, far from perfect actually, but it's just more intuitive swiping through your menus and music and all that stuff. But anyway, this is the dock. On the back here we also have line out, S-video out, S-video out. It's just so funny to think that Apple actually supported S-video. Can you say peasant? And I used to use S-video, so I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm just saying we've come a very long way with technology in general. And of course, the 30-pin connector, iPod logo on the bottom, and this one should have an iPod logo. Actually, that's interesting. This one only has the Apple logo. This one has the Apple logo and the iPod logo, the iPod branding. Okay, so getting into details, the iPod 5th generation is my favorite iPod for several reasons. Number one, the design was just so beautiful. Look how symmetric that is. And of course, the click wheel is part of that reason because it was just so intuitive. And yes, you're gonna hear me say that a lot. Back then, this was true innovation. Apple actually integrated the buttons into the click wheel. And of course, the middle button did indeed click as well. Up top, we have the hold switch, which acted exactly the same as this. And of course, we have a headphones jack on the bottom, 30-pin connector in the back, very reflective, just like the iPod 3rd generation. Now, another reason why this is my favorite iPod, it played video. And it still plays video. Granted, I haven't booted this thing in years, and actually, I might do that again in the near future. but back then that was a big deal. And Steve Jobs famously said that nobody wants to watch videos on a small screen. Well, that was typical of Steve Jobs. He made you think you don't want something, and then boom, Apple releases it, and you suddenly want it. Genius marketing, if you ask me. Okay, so yes, some people might call that brainwashing. It's not. I mean, you're free to spend your money the way you want. And well, honestly, I didn't buy this myself. It was a birthday gift. But yes, it has a 60 gigabyte hard drive, and I just love it. And also, this iPod was my official introduction to video podcasts. So that in itself is a big deal. All right, what's next? iPod Shuffle, first generation. All right, so I just got this less than a year ago. I thought it was brand new. I bought it on eBay. I plug it into my Mac, and it had a bunch of songs on it from artists that I would never listen to. So I was like, okay, this is not brand new. I emailed the seller, and they gave me a partial refund. They claim it was a gift from the church or something, like as a donation. So they didn't know it wasn't brand new. All right, so I will say I believe them to an extent. But nowadays, it doesn't matter. It's whatever. It's just stuff. So yes, this is indeed the first generation iPod. Check this out. You can unplug it, plug it in to your Mac or PC. 512 megabytes flash storage. Basic controls on the front. Play, pause, volume up, volume down, previous, next. And on the back here, we have commands. We have random and shuffle. And that is where, look, the battery's still charged because I charged it like 9 months ago. So the iPod Shuffle was famous because it kind of did something the competition never did, at least to my knowledge. It was a music player without a screen. It literally just shuffled your playback, and you just had to assume it would do a good job, and I loved it. Now, I never really used this, honestly. Oh, and also up here we have a headphones jack. But yeah, I never used this. I just bought it because I'm a collector. However, my favorite iPod Shuffle of all time is the iPod Shuffle second generation, which actually is branded on the back with an engraving that says, "I, David." Drink break. I knew I was gonna talk a lot. So anyway, this one was really cool because it was so much smaller. You could clip it on your shirt like this, and you play your music. Now, I used this in college a lot, and I loved it. I used to use it all the time. On the bottom here, we have an on and off switch right there. And of course, just like the first generation Shuffle, we have random and shuffle playback. Obviously, this is an iPod Shuffle. And up top here, we have a headphones jack. And this clip, it's just sturdy as hell. This thing is quality. It still has not broken. So yes, the iPod Shuffle, second generation, extremely solid product. And then something happened. Apple wanted to do something different, and I give them props for this. I mean, actually, I respect any company or individual who takes risks in life because playing it safe is not always the best route to take. Sure, it's a guarantee, but where's the fun in that? So the iPod Shuffle, third generation, which looks like a little stick of gum. It was completely controlled by your voice, unless you got headphones that had a built-in remote. Yes, Apple actually wanted you to use VoiceOver to control your playback. Now, in a way, this was really cool because it was early signs of Siri. Because nowadays, Siri still does this, like, "Hey Siri, play my music, next track, previous track." All right, just started playing music. So yeah, VoiceOver in theory was really cool, but I think I can speak for most users when I say this. This wasn't a very fun product to use. It was beautiful. I'll give him that. Tiny as hell. Apple's always been about small and thin and all that stuff, and I don't blame them. But from a usability perspective, the iPod Shuffle, third generation, it just wasn't that great. And well, honestly, that's why I rarely used it. I don't think I ever really used it more than twice, maybe. And clearly, Apple learned their lesson because the following year, they came out with the iPod Shuffle fourth generation, which is just like the iPod Shuffle second generation, but obviously smaller, more square, and more uniform, symmetrical, whatever word you want to use to describe this design. Now, as beautiful as this is, and I'm not going to go over the controls because it's exactly the same, shuffle, blah, 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 all that stuff, I still preferred this simply because of one main reason. More thumb room to clip it. Now this one also had a solid clip. The thing is, look, I'm clipping it and I'm pushing the previous track button mistakenly over and over again. I mean, it was possible to do it without clipping it, pressing it by accident, but it just wasn't that realistic. So, I'll say this again, the iPod Shuffle 2nd generation is, without a doubt in my mind, my favorite shuffle design of all time. Incredibly solid, and it just worked. And well, I'm sure it still does work. Actually, I'm curious, one day, like in a future weekend vlog, I think I'm gonna boot up all of these iPods and just show you guys what kind of music and videos I have on them. All right, let's talk about the iPod Nano. iPod Nano 3rd generation, also known as the Fatty. This is product red, so it officially helped AIDS research, which is very cool. But I never really used it that much, and I feel bad because I asked for this for Christmas one year, and my parents got it for me. Extremely grateful, thank you. But I just never really used it that much because I think at the time, I was still using this, or maybe something else during those years. I'm not sure, to be honest, because it's been so long. But I will say, it's a beautiful design, considering how unbalanced it looks, because the screen is so much bigger than the click wheel. But at the time, I think this was a really smart decision, because this is a smart marketing move. This is a large screen. You could do a lot on this screen. Not as much as an iPod Touch or an iPhone, obviously, but this is a large screen for back in the day, considering how small this overall product was. And the click wheel was obviously quite tiny. On the bottom, not on the top, on the bottom we had a 30-pin connector, headphones jack, and of course, your hold switch. Apple really liked the hold switch back then, which I think was interesting. However, because this is only an iPod Nano, you get 8 gigabytes of storage. So this couldn't exactly compare to something like the iPod 5th generation or the iPod 3rd generation. This is more of like a minimal media playback experience, if that makes sense. All right, so the iPod Nano 6th generation. This is, okay, first of all, it is techsocial.com on the back. I sold that years ago. I'll tell you guys right now, I sold it for, I think, a few $1,000s. Not bad, not bad. You know me, transparency. So this is really neat. And in a way, the iPod Nano 6th generation was kind of a preface to what we all love nowadays, and that's the Apple Watch. I love my Apple Watch. Yeah, I just can't imagine my day without it. I mean, look at this. I have Woody on my wrist at all times. I don't know if you can see that. And actually, this was so much like a watch that third-party manufacturers made accessories like bands where you could put this on your wrist and use it as a watch, because it had watch faces, which is really neat. But not only that, you could also twist the UI using your fingers. So I thought that was really cool. And up top here, we have the power button, volume up, volume down. On the back, Apple logo. Gotta say though, very ugly green. This isn't something I would pick out nowadays. I mean, in my opinion, it's just not that attractive. But hey, I was younger back then, right? And of course, in the bottom here, we have a headphones jack and 30-pin connector, which almost took up the entire width of the iPod Nano 6th generation. Not bad though. All right, last but certainly not least, iPod Nano 7th generation. I got this in black. Gotta say, a beautiful, beautiful product, because it played landscape. Widescreen video, in other words, and I'll never forget, the first video I played on here was an episode of The Office, and I thought it was pretty cool. Now granted, when I got this, and I'm pretty sure I won it, I think on appwin.com, I didn't actually pay for this. I'm pretty sure when I got this, I already had an iPhone. Actually, I did, because look, this is the first iPod, from my own personal experience, and actually it might be the first iPod ever, that used that, a lightning connector. So yeah, definitely the iPhone was out by then, so I never really ended up using this too much. Much like the iPod Shuffle, I just like having things to be part of my collection. But even with that said, considering all the iPods I have, I still have a very, very long way to go. So here are all of my iPods. And of course, I do have all of these on my iShrine. I'll link my iShrine video right below, check it out. So boom, there are my iPods. Now, you may have noticed I did not even talk about my iPhone collection in this video. But if that's something you guys want to see, click that like button and just let me know in the comments. But I do have one honorable bonus mention. AirPods. If you want to make your iPod listening experience that much better, buy yourself some AirPods. Believe me, I was not a huge believer in the AirPods at first because I thought I didn't need them in my life. But nowadays, when I see people with headphones with cables hanging from their ears, I just can't help but smirk. It just looks so ancient to me. So the AirPods, in my opinion, are definitely a sign of the future. And in case you guys don't know how it works, there are tiny batteries in each AirPod, and you drop them in, boom, and they charge. This is actually the charging case, and you can press this little button back here to see your battery status. I don't know if you can see that, but it's green. However, with that said, if you want to take advantage of Apple's AirPower, you know, the wireless charging base coming out in 2018, you must buy the new AirPods, or at least the new AirPods case that supports wireless charging. Hence why the LED charging indicator is on the outside rather than the inside. So, there you go, my iPod collection. What do you guys think? Now, let me know, what iPods do you have? List all of them right below. Let's get a conversation going. And also, you know what? Let me know some of your favorite iPod memories, like waiting in line, unboxing your favorite iPod. Maybe you got one for Christmas like I did. Let me know, I'm curious. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.